My name is Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. I live at 3102 Central Hill Road, Acre, Mississippi, 38841. I am under attack by what appears to be Scientology. So, from what I have experienced, there is more space in the universe than humans can see. There are 11 dimensions. These dimensions reside within the particle itself. So, inside of the particles in which we consist of lie 11 dimensions. We have biology in these extra dimensions. Scientology is the practice of utilizing this extra dimensional biology before we die. They remove it from themselves and they utilize technology and techniques to turn it into an upper dimensional vehicle. So this biology that we produce presents itself in layers. As it grows out of us into the next three dimensions, it creates a biology. And then as this energy transcends into the next three dimensions, it creates a layer on top of that biology. And it does the same thing for the next three dimensions and the next three and so on and so forth. So you wind up with a biology with layers. Scientologists like to remove this biology from themselves, and then they remove the layers. But these biologies are incomplete. They can't function properly in this state. So these Scientologists take organs and tissues from other humans and other species in an attempt to make themselves whole and function properly again. They take organs and tissues from humans, from reptiles, insects, and worms. There's a few types of alien forms they make. They make lizard people, they make insectoids, and they make worm people. These people are assaulting me greatly. So there is an entanglement property between our third dimension and our inner dimensions. If you remove biology from your inner dimensions, no matter how far you take it away, you are still in this biology. What happens is you can't take energy out of the particle. So if you try to do this, space-time will conform to ensure this doesn't happen. So as you move the removed tissue from your biology, space-time in between you and the removed tissue shrinks to zero. Utilizing this property, you can take a piece of your biology to a remote location and interact with it, and you will experience it. You can even stick something inside of it, and it will show up down here. It's your origin biology. Yes, this is what they're doing to me. So they have removed most of my biology. Some of it they have used for transplants. Some of it they're using for surrogate purposes, and some of it they're using for torture devices. So they are doing things like they have a large part of my biology in a different location, and they are assaulting it greatly. They like to stick stuff inside of it, fill it full of parasites, cause me great pain and suffering. And now they're doing things like putting it in holes. They can make a hole in space time and drop a biology through it. They can lock it out of entropy. This keeps anyone else from accessing this biology and fixing the problems. So they like to stick stuff inside of it and then drop it through a hole. I am suffering greatly, and they won't stop. They torture me constantly, nonstop. When I try to get some rest or stop, that's when they like to torture me the most. And they keep victim shaming me and harassing me. And they're trying to come up with some false narrative in which says I've done something wrong to somehow justify their criminal behavior towards me. And then they're trying to steal my intellectual property. So I'm part Native American. My Native American name is Crazy Bird. I wrote Crazy Bird comics. I wrote the Environmental Creation Agency. I wrote Divine Currency. I wrote Alien Bob, Bug Bob, and several others. And then they're premeditating my death. I am severely ill. I'm weak and dizzy. I'm in pain. I just got assaulted greatly. I almost passed out. Get away from me. You're breaking the law. So this technology that they use allows them to do several things. First, they utilize this entanglement property for part of their hive mind practices. So they like to remove biology, specifically brain tissue. They like to remove brain stems, their thalamus, and their eyes. And they have compounds on Earth in which they store this biology. So they use little pods or little boxes. They will put their biology in these pods and they will install it into a storage system. And from there, they interface it into a computer system. From there, they can interact with each other in a digital landscape. Uh, they can communicate with each other. And they use this computer system as a command center so they can drive the rest of their upper dimensional biology. They also have wireless technology. So they can come down here to your origin biology and install devices inside of your origin biology. Most of these devices are recording devices. They call them preservation devices because they preserve your vision. These devices interface with your sensory perception organs so they can record your sight, your hearing, your taste, your touch, your smell. And they have a screen. This screen interfaces with your thalamus and the visual cortex of your brain. You can stimulate it on your own and replace the visual processes of thinking, or they can stimulate it for you and show you things. Yes, they can also hook into individual neurons and do this too. Uh, they can also stimulate other areas of the brain and biology, such as sexual organs. They can stimulate our glands and our digestion, so they can elevate digestive enzymes or hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, and growth hormones. They can It elevates neurochemistry, so they run energy through our neurons, and this elevates neurochemicals like dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. They can also stimulate the emotional centers in our brain. They can make you experience joy or pleasure or happiness, or they can make you irritable, sad, or angry. They can even make you cry. And lastly, this technology allows them to create surrogates. So it gives them the ability to drive other organisms that are not their own. They can drive humans, animals, insects, and worms in any dimension. So the Scientology community is a very criminal enterprise. First off, they need other people's body parts to complete their Scientology process. So if you go to one of these Scientology companies and pay for Scientology, pay for access to the upper dimensions, they will remove your extra dimensional biology and modify it. And to complete this process, they need to utilize organs and tissues from other humans and other species to complete uh, your biologies. Biological theft involved, and that's number one on the criminal list. They put their hands on people for a living. They do this without consent. It is their employment and their hobby, and they do this nonstop. They like to invade our privacy. So social media and marketing companies and other companies are utilizing Scientology to invade uh, the privacies of the public. So anyone with social media or a computer, access to the internet, a phone service, or even a television, they are at risk of losing biology or having devices installed so these Scientologists can invade their privacy in an attempt to gain information about what these people are consuming, so they can con- control the algorithms and the commercials you see and the internet ads in an attempt to try to get you to consume more or buy more products. So they like to invade our privacy. They invade our homes and our businesses. They even use their upper dimensions as lookouts so they can break and enter in the third dimension and take things or modify our environments. They kidnap people and they force assimilation. So they exploit people. If you have influence, power, or authority in any way in our society, or they are just attracted to you, they may force you to assimilate. They may force you into this hive mind or to practice Scientology so they can speak to you and try to control your behavior. They traffic humans, both for sexual purposes and for organ donations. Torture, rape, and murder is rampant among the Scientology community. They are also using biological warfare among the people. So they can drive other organisms. This includes bad organisms such as parasites, microbes, and even viruses. And they have several species of parasites that they are using on the people, some of which are even genetically engineered. They take surrogates from the population. So if they are attracted to you in any way, or if you are in a position that they need, such as if you have family members or you work somewhere, or if you just have abilities in which they desire, they may take you as a surrogate. So they may start to drive you themselves. And they take people at will. Nobody is stopping these people from doing this. No one is policing the upper dimensions. They let these Scientologists get away with whatever they want to. And they have used their technology to take control of our society. Every institution in our society that has any kind of power or influence has been taken over by Scientology. They all have Scientologists working for them, or they get forced to assimilate. So this institution can control our society and in turn the population for personal and monetary gains. So I used to be, this all started for me on social media about 15 years ago. Uh, I was a political activist, participated in politics a lot. There was a large group of people that did this. I had a large following. We discussed elected officials, lawmaking, policy, environmental issues, and we participated in these issues. So we persuaded elections and lawmaking and policy. And I'm also an author and a creative. I wrote a lot. I helped a lot of people come up with their own ideas, and I helped a lot of people write their own literature. And then I got forced to assimilate. So at first, I started hearing voices, and these people started to try to take over my life, tell me what to do, how to do my job, when I could take breaks, when I could go to the bathroom. And I did not accept their advances. I told them to get away from me, to leave me alone. And then a whole bunch of people came, and everybody was talking to me. Some of these people were extremely hostile. They started threatening my life and my liberty. So then I started yelling at them to get away from me. But then the communication dialed down. I guess they removed devices and they stopped the communication. And then I felt violently ill. I could feel things stuck inside of me, inside of my ear, my face, my neck, my head. My whole head swelled up. I started going to the hospital to have scans done to try to get it removed. But they found nothing. And looking back, it appears that The medical professionals in which I was in touch with were also Scientologists. They acted strange. They even offered me a sexual experience. Then it became evident that the public was invading my privacy. So radio DJs, media companies, marketing companies, social media, internet companies such as Google, big businesses, the government such as politicians, the FBI, the CIA, the military, they were all invading my privacy. They would communicate with me. Most of the time it was hostile, threatening my life and my liberty. And then they started stealing my intellectual property. So the things that I was working on and writing for myself, I started to see my work and other people's being used by other people, such as media companies, magazine companies, even people writing their own books in literature. So as time went on, I felt more and more ill. Communication grew worse. They stole more and more intellectual property. And then one day, I started to see things too. So I started to see these people in my environment on their upper dimensions, and I started to hear things. It was a complete hive mind experience. And then they started stealing my biology. So these people got to witness me writing my literature and coming up with ideas, and they seen it as of great value. They got to experience my psychology as I did this, which is a natural high. It brings me great joy to write and to create and come up with ideas. And they fell in love with it, and they exploited me for this issue. So they started selling seeds to other Scientologists to invade my mind space, to come up with their own ideas. So they wanted the biology that allowed me to do this. They wanted the brain tissue, wanted to harness the ability to write and create for themselves. See, they can experience other people's psychology. This includes brain tissue. Some of them even have themselves set up where they can use other people's brain tissue for their own. Yes, and they can experience it. So they started removing brain tissue to utilize as transplants. So they literally took extra dimensional brain tissue out of my head and used it as a transplant for their own self. As time went on, this grew worse and worse. They took more and more and more, and then it turned into sort of a science experiment. I continued to write and produce, and I was still intellectual, and I could communicate and articulate well. And they started experimenting on me to figure out how I did it, how I'm able to do it. They wanted the brain, they call it brain pieces. They wanted the area of my brain that allowed me to do this for themselves. And they continued to do it, continued to do it. And then it turned into a snuff film. And it became apparent that I had worms, that they had poisoned me with parasites. And they started driving parasites around in my biology, assaulting me greatly. I almost died several times. But these people can do life support, transplants, and things of this nature to keep a patient alive. And then it turned into a snuff film, torture fest. They torture me constantly. Experiencing some kind of electrocution. They have devices on my biology at a remote location, and they are electrocuting. I just got assaulted greatly. I don't know where at, but I became extremely dizzy. Now I'm getting victim shamed. You're breaking the law. And they plan to torture me to death and then use my upper dimensional biology, parts of it for transplants. Parts of it they're going to use for this, or use to produce their own intellectual property. So they want to watch me think. They have done this in the past. They exploited me for this purpose. Other people just wanted to watch me think. They think I'm a genius. I have good psychology, the ability to think, produce information. I'm inherently philosophical. Yes, I'm part Native American. So they want to set up a device where anyone can come and watch me think, and they're probably going to sell seats to that as well. And then the rest of me, they're going to torture me, put me in a torture device, and they call it sending it to hell, sending me to hell. So they're going to make me suffer in the afterlife. They're going to keep me artificially stimulated and suffering. I'm getting victim shamed. You're breaking the law. Yes, it's a Scientologist MO. So there are hot spots in America and probably around the rest of the world. I've just noticed the ones in America. Uh, California, New York, Texas, Southern Florida, Mississippi, Illinois. These are all hot spots for Scientology. So these Scientologists will come into an area and set up shop. And they will ordain some people, and they will use this area to harvest organs, biology. Is they kidnap and traffic humans, and then it usually goes south. So a bunch of people start getting hurt over this, over their practices, which usually winds up uh, victims coming out of their practices, and then they'll pack up shop and move somewhere else. Yes, and they are planning to. They say they're planning to turn me into a surrogate. I'm severely ill. Yes, they're coming up with any excuse they can to do this to me. Yes, most of these are government officials. They are beholden to the Scientology community, not the government or the people. And Scientology has amassed trillions of dollars, allowing people to access the upper dimensions. And plus controlling the population, controlling our institutions. They are have amassed several trillions of dollars. I think last time I heard it was like 15 to 17 trillion dollars. And they are using this money to pay off everybody involved, including government officials, to try to get away with this ordeal. Because they want my biology, they want my intellectual property. Yes, they make insectoids. Plus, uh, they experience time in a different manner than we do on Earth. So in our third dimension, we see time as a linear event. We see the days passing one after another after another. We see seconds, minutes, and hours. Time is actually a simultaneous event. So the past, the present, and the future happen at the same time. And they experience time this way. So upon death, the normal experience we have is we raise or turn around. We literally grab every particle we consist of and we turn around and we face the opposite direction than we do while we're among the living. So that while we're alive, we see out into the third dimension, out into the universe. When we're dead, we see into the singularity. So into the center of the singularity. And you face the opposite direction. So Scientologists face this way. They cut themselves to pieces and they never turn around. They are still facing the same way the living do, out into the third dimension. And they are interacting with humans on Earth. You're breaking the law. Because I'm being assaulted great. You're breaking the law. Get away from me. That's how violently. No, they steal body parts or sever nerves or do things of this manner, uh, and then they'll patch me up and get me functioning properly again, so nobody knows what's going on. While the entire time they're planning my demise, torture to death, and then torture in the afternoon. Please get away from me. You're breaking the law. Put my biology somewhere safe and leave it alone. So the reason for this behavior is, first off, they are conditioned to mess with body parts. So they put their hands on people for a living. It is all they do. They steal biology and modify biologies. They remove body parts for a living, and then they stick them together. This is what they do for a living. They are conditioned to do this. They do it as for employment and for a hobby. On top of this, they're lawless. So they spend their time committing all of these criminal acts I just mentioned. And then lastly, they're artificially stimulating their biology. So they are elevating neurochemistry and their hormones, which is producing an extremely narcotic-like effect upon these subjects, whacked out of their heads. So all of these aspects combined is producing some extremely negative psychology and behavior within these people. They are psychotic and delusional. They are extremely violent. They stay irritable. They have addictive tendencies. They are jealous and petty. They are greedy, machoistic. Uh, they have no empathy. They're sociopathic and they're psychopaths. And we're seeing a lot of religious zealotism and occult personalities come out of this population. Yes, they do things like torture to death and uh, so put biologies down in holes or torture biologies for religious purposes as a religious event. Yes, these people can see the future. What happens is, while you're among the living, you see time as a linear event. And when you're dead or when you're cleaved, time more simultaneous. So the closer you are to the third dimension, the more linear you see time. But as you turn around and go towards the 11th dimension, the further you get away from the third dimension towards the 11th dimension, time more simultaneously. And eventually you get to a place in the universe where space and time does not exist. And then you can turn back around and look upon the universe and see the entire thing happening at the same time. So you see the entire thing as it has already happened. So at this very moment, they are in the past and in the future at the same time. And all throughout my life, I've had strange experiences like oh no moments where I'm laying in bed half asleep and I feel body parts being removed and you almost die. It's like you're losing something very precious to you. Pain and sickness and dysfunction and sickness and weakness. And then you hear voices all over the place and you're like, they're talking to me. And then I come to this moment and I understand what happened now. They are interacting with me in my past in this very moment. So at this very moment, I'm being assimilated, which explains why they were so hostile when they came to me. At this very moment, I'm being born. At this very moment, they are driving my father in the hospital as a surrogate, as he gives me the name Christopher. That's not supposed to be my name. I'm supposed to be Robert Wayne Weathers. Now I'm Robert Christopher Wayne Weathers. Just so they could come back to this moment or in the future and sell this whole event as a Christian martyrdom to the public and to the Christian community and somehow add to the justification of this criminal behavior. It's probably because I turned them in. Now they're trying to manufacture evidence or come up with all these false narratives, and which says that I've done something wrong, which somehow adds to the justification of their criminal behavior towards me. Yes, I'm severely ill. And no matter where I go, they do this to me. It gets worse when I leave my home because they have destroyed this environment and they can't access me as well as they can out there. They're trying to turn me into a servant and send me to hell at the same time. And they're doing my animals the same way. We are sick and we're suffering and we're in pain greatly. Get away from me. You're breaking the law. Yes, my teeth still hurt. I made that video this morning or last night and they finally removed the worm, but they caused damage on the way out because they're petty. Breaking the law. Get away from me. They can't fix my biology up. They can at the moment because they'll do it again. Or they'll use someone to replace biology to send me to hell in it or as another torture device. Yes, they can literally remove extra dimensional biology, take it to a remote location, and torture it. They can even kill you in this manner. You're breaking the law. Yes, this is a hotspot. North Mississippi is a hotspot for Scientology. Yes, they produce aliens, and the aliens are remote controlled. So there are people on Earth driving their upper dimensional biology, and most of these biologies have an alien form. It depends on which dimension they are using. See, there are lower dimensions that just make a human. The first three dimensions that grow out of you look like a human. They look just like you. And then they remove these layers from themselves. And then they turn these layers into varying various alien forms. So there's the greens, the grays, and the blues. These are alien forms. And then they make insectoids using bug body parts. And they make lizard people using lizard body parts. And then they make worm people using worm body parts. And they use these upper dimensional organisms to commit criminal activity. No, nobody's eating us. A lot of people at this moment are pretending to eat us to try to get away with this, to try to add to the justification of their criminal behavior towards us. They're using us for body parts, for more Scientology practice. They're growing their business. It's either Scientology or surrogate making, both of which get sold to other Scientologists. They keep contaminating my food and my water and my drink because if I consume a particle or a parasite, uh, these particles will also show up in my other biology that has also been removed. That's how it works. So I could literally stick something inside of me at this moment and it would show up in outer space, wherever they have my biology, at that remote location. Now I'm getting victim shamed. You're lying and you're breaking the law. So first off, these people have brain damage. They have removed their neural tissue for their Scientology practices. Then they're artificially stimulating themselves, elevating their neurochemicals and their hormones. Plus, they're sending electricity through their brain and central nervous system. It kicks their endorphins in all the time. Yes, they're conditioned to remove body parts and commit criminal activity. They are severely psychologically compromised. Yes, my name is Crazy. Yes, and they're using their assimilated government officials to try to validate or try to get away with this. So these people are not stopping. They're doing this continuously. Yes, they have a goal to achieve. This is unnatural. You're breaking the law. This is not normal human experience. This is not normal human behavior. None of that can justify this criminal behavior. No, we don't run around getting geeked out cutting body parts off of people for a living. That is not normal human behavior. Most of us get a job, we go to work, we come home, take care of our home and our families, and do it, get up again the next day and do it all over again. And yes, some of us drink beer and smoke weed and stuff like that. That's the normal human experience. Trying to use my past drug use as another add to their justification of their criminal behavior. Yeah, like you did too, so am I. It's that kind of victim shaming. Yes, rarely. For most of the past, for most of the time this has been going on, I've been under the care of a psychologist and psychiatrist. Yes, it cost me a lot of money. Yeah. I'm very sick. Uh, Today they have continued with their genital mutilation. They filled my brain full of sensors and devices. I mean, completely. They made me dream last night about first they assaulted me in my dream. Uh, Yes, they give me dreams. It's very vivid. Sometimes they torture me in my dreams. Usually it's torture. No, it's more like claustrophobia or being underground in some kind of like Indiana Jones gauntlet where you got to run and get away from things, and maybe there's monsters in the area attacking you like a little horror story, and you wind up in hell, buried alive, or somewhere in pain and you can't get away from it. I've been murdered in my dreams several times, usually a stroke. They like to make me stroke out. Then they like to give me brain damage and make me run away, and I'll get down on all fours because I can't run anymore. And then they watch me think. And if I have a thought that they don't like, they assault me for it. Like when I try to come to the conclusion of what is wrong or something, I get assaulted. Yeah, what they're doing to me, and maybe try to think of a way to avoid it. Yes, I'm severely ill. Yes, I am among the living. I am a live person. This is more like a haunting, and they're trying to call it uh, government activity or policing. No, what happens is they will send their surrogates, or the small people will come to try to help me, and then they assault me. And if I do try to fight back, it harms these other people in my environment, these surrogates and the other people. It's why the big ones get away with it. Is they do this over and over and over again. Because that's what happens if I fight back. Well, you can do things if these people are in your house, like kill the power. If you're ever addressed with this situation, that's the first thing I would do. I would kill the power. Uh, it sounds strange, but maybe even, I don't know, it depends on what they're doing, but sometimes you can take your clothes off or put on more clothes, and this changes the scenario. It depends on which side of the universe they're attacking you from. So if they're attacking you from the dark side, you need to remove all the clothing. And if they're attacking you from this side, you need to put more clothing on. Because clothing gives them a piece of inverse they can reach through. Uh, just kill all the power. And then sometimes it's even in your best interest to run, but they can even get you that way too, depending on which side of the universe they're assaulting you from. It's in your best interest to go fast. Choose a direction and go in a hurry. Yes, they're anticipating some event where I lose my penis and I die or something like that. I don't know. Oh yeah, you could, if you see them, you can. You can attack them, hit them with something, but depending on which side of the universe it is and who's doing it, they can avoid it. See, they can see the future and they watch our movements. So they know every movement you're going to make. I mean, every one of them. They know exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. They know when you're going to eat or drink something, and they know exactly what you're going to eat or drink. So they even do things to me like go into the grocery stores or the stations and contaminate the exact drink or food source that I'm going to be consuming ahead of time. You know? Or say, I need a drink of water to survive this assault that I'm going through. They can even show up to the water fountains, and they do this a lot, and they modify this water fountain. They like to put invert separators on my water supply. It's a device that removes the extra dimension from your particles that you're going to be consuming. My entire water source is filled with these things. It's also filled with contamination devices. So they had devices where they add things to my water supply too. Yes, I suspect they are doing this in the third dimension down the road or something. This is a Scientology. Scientologist, if you have something a Scientologist wants, even if it's an organ or your life, they will hurt you and take it from you. It's their MO. And if they can't get to you in the way that they want, it usually winds up into rape and usually winds up rape and torture and even murder. This is body snatching.